Speaking at the Security Commission today, the Minister of Interior stated that, just like prosecutors, judges and police officers, politicians must also undergo vetting, adding that he volunteers to be first. The justice reform is seen as providing greater opportunity for investment growth in Albania from Italian businesses, with Prime Minister Rama promising a reduction in taxes and bureaucracies. Mayor of Tirana and Veliaj hosted his counterpart from Verona, with the two mayors talking about extending cooperation to include sectors such as transport and lighting. Good evening, it's 6 o'clock on Monday the 19th of February 2018. Welcome to the English edition of Aura News. My name is Alexandra and I'm here to bring you the day's top stories from across the country translated into English. For our top story tonight, and today's meeting of the Security Commission saw discussions focus on the vetting of state police. The deputies adopted the draft law in principle, although there was no shortage of debate amongst Commission members. Minister of Interior Fatmir Xhafaj, in a retort to the Democratic MP Ervin Saliani, said that even politicians have to undergo the vetting process before explaining some details of the draft law on vetting. The first question was, could and should the Minister of Interior be involved in the vetting process? Of course, yes. I would be subject to this assessment today if I were an employee of the state police. If this was a draft law proposed for the vetting of politicians, I would be the first to vote with both hands. I can give you a draft that you may consider if you will undertake such an initiative. It would be a very positive thing, and I strongly believe that I should be investigated first as the drafter of justice reform and as Minister of Interior. I also strongly believe that in the way justice reform is progressing, the ideology is being conceived, I believe that we will have a vetting process in politics very soon, added Xhafaj. Democrat MP Flamur Norka took the opportunity to raise several accusations against the majority. Deputies of the Democratic Party, those of the Socialist Party and of the Socialist Movement for Integration were mainly in agreement with the draft law, although they had some remarks that related to technical aspects. A point of discussion raised by Commission members included broadening the scope of the vetting process to include police officers who have been removed from the force due to structural changes. In addition, it was debated to also incorporate situations where an individual, who is not more than 47 years, has a record of court appearances even if they are upheld a non-guilty verdict. President Ilir Meta is expected to ask the Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs, Ditmir Bushati, to complete the data on the request for full authority during talks with Greece. The sources have announced that after returning from Kosovo, the head of the Albanian state will address an official letter to Prime Minister Rama and Minister Ditmir Bushati to commence the required procedures. It has also been learned that the head of state will seek to include a representative of the President, a representative of the State Intelligence Service and a representative of the Ministry of Justice at the discussion table. However, sources specify that this is not a rejection of the claim for the fulfilment of authority, and it does seem that Meta's decision has come following consultations with 5 former presidents of Albania. On the other hand, the Greek government seems to have moved faster with this procedure, with the Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras already having provided names that will be present for negotiations with Albania. Listed on the agenda for discussions are a number of points that, for up to 70 years, have been left so far unsolved. It is expected that talks will focus on such points as the Maritime Agreement, the issue of the law of war, and the revised textbooks for students. The parties have already agreed in principle on these points, announcing also a meeting between Greek Prime Minister Tsipras and Albanian Prime Minister Rama to be held in Korça this April. The canyons of Xhafaj will not be endangered by construction of hydropower plants. The Ministry of Infrastructure and Energy has started procedures to solve the issue of the contract that was issued to construct a hydropower plant at the Osumi River. The decision was made after administration from the Ministry of Environment requested the removal of an environmental permit for the company regarding a number of activities. In particular, these activities included installations for the production of a hydroelectric power at the Bigas 1 and Bigas 2 hydropower plants in the creek at the watershed in Xhafaj. This decision from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Energy was taken following a ground inspection by the Territorial Development Agency, which was initiated after allegations that construction coordinates had been manipulated. It has been previously noted by environmental defenders that the construction of the hydropower plants present a significant danger to the canyons of Xhafaj. Despite this particular issue, the Ministry of Infrastructure and Energy emphasises that it does support and encourage the development of new energy sources, especially given that the country faces major challenges due to an ever-growing demand for energy and has so much potential for hydropower generation. Prime Minister Rama believes that the justice reform provides added security for foreign investors in Albania. In a speech given at the Albania-Italy Business Forum, the head of the Albanian government has emphasised the lowering of taxes for new investments. "We now have lower taxes and no bureaucracy. Come and invest. Let's make Albania a little Italy," declared Rama. On his side, the Italian Deputy Minister for Economic Development emphasised that Italy is the first supplier to Albania, with investments totalling the value of €3.5 billion. Even the Italian ambassador, Alberto Cutillo, agreed that justice reform will bring positive effects. "We expect the reform to attract more investments. Albania can become the entry gate to the entire Western Balkans. Albania deserves the opening of negotiations, and if that happens, Albania will face a new challenge in modernising the economic system. Italian companies will support Albanian ones in the European markets. Albania has a lot to gain from collaborating with Italy at all levels," assured Ambassador Cutillo. In addition to the collaborative project for cleaning the city through the Italian-Albanian company, Tirana and Verona will also work together on lighting and public transport projects. Mayor of Tirana, Veliaj, is currently hosting his Veronan counterpart and said that today there are many sectors which can benefit from experience obtained from Italy. "In these modern times, when you have a good friend, you have a treasure. For us, that treasure is the alliance with Verona, from which we are learning how to do things in order to work better in a Western city model and then to implement them in Tirana. I look forward to starting some public transport projects. I've said it before, if transport companies do not respond to us in modernising the fleet with green buses, then of course we'll be ready to take on the challenge. So today we've discussed how to start with some projects, some concrete projects, always believing that the best is yet to come," declared Veliaj. The Mayor of Verona outlined how impressed he was by the city of Tirana during his visit. "I thank Erion for welcoming me in such a special way, because hospitality is also a value. I've seen a lot of things, but above all, what remains in my mind about Tirana is that it is a truly developing city, a city that is growing and developing impressively. I did not know it before, but I have seen very beautiful photos as it was and how it is now, a completely different city. I want to be in synergy with a capital like Tirana, because working together means growing together. So I agree with the sentiment from Mr. Veliaj that the best is yet to come," concluded the Mayor of Verona. In a sign of friendship and cooperation between the two cities, Veliaj handed a key to the city over to his Italian counterpart. Later, they also paid a visit to Skanderberg Square, which, after reconstruction, has become a public space dedicated solely to the citizens. In what has become his signature sentiment, Mayor Veliaj did not miss the opportunity to also plant some symbolic trees with the Mayor of Verona. As recent discussions have been occurring, suggesting risk of collapse for the University of Tirana, harsh tones are being used against the administration board. Its members have taken the opportunity to lash back at the university's dean. The administration board consists of 7 members, 3 representatives from the Ministry of Education and 4 from the University of Tirana. These are the people who have bore the brunt of the blame of the university's situation, but today took a moment to clarify their position, presenting a list with a total of 11 accusations made against the dean for violations of the law on higher education. The administration board says the dean has never recognised the board as a collegial body of universities, nor implemented any of their decisions. They add that the dean expresses his will to overthrow the administrative and financial responsibilities that the law has given the board and its administrator. The concern of the board is that the Dean is more focused on financial and administrative matters than academic ones. For example, discussing employment contracts with administration employees rather than only with the professors as the law allows. Regarding the situation of internal problems, the University Administration Board says the Dean demanded some employees prevent the administrator from entering his office over a significant period of time from the 3rd of August to the 4th of October. Making the situation at the University of Tirana even worse is the possibility of strike from a group of professors employed there, due to the concern that the higher education reform is resulting in the university losing its function. The group of academics is expected to hold a press conference tomorrow outlining the requirements for them to resume work at the university. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join me again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.